My job of MO was stolen from me after a family meltdown, and now my sister is upset that I don't want to attend the wedding. Am I wrong for refusing to go? My F26 older sister F28 has made me maid of honor for her wedding in 1 month, and half-sister F21 is throwing a fit. So for background, my sister Laura and I were raised by our mom without a dad for the first 5-ish years of my life. It was just the 3 of us until my mom met my stepdad. They got married and had our little sister, Carrie, not long after. My stepdad is an awesome guy. Before he came along Laura, mom and I lived in a tiny apartment with nothing much but second-hand items and each other. But we were happy because we had a roof over our head and food on the table. My stepdad has an excellent job, so once they married and had Carrie, we moved into a nice big house, a mansion compared to our apartment, and started getting nice gifts at Christmas time and birthdays. This is what Carrie grew up with. And whereas we grew up with a lot of it too, I don't think it affected us as bad, because we remember what it's like to be frugal and to not have much. My mom to this day is still very frugal, and we love to go thrifting or making our own items like we used to anyways. So Laura and I are very separate from Carrie in that regard. Carrie has always been spoilt, but not in a throw a tantrum and ask daddy for a new car way. But she'll ask for a $500 birthday cake and get it. Buy name brand things only, and if she can't have something for whatever reason, she'll pout for 3 days and be moody. So surprise, surprise, she still lives with mom and dad and doesn't have a job of her own, and they seem to be fine with it, but whatever. Anyways, Laura's boyfriend of 6 years proposed last year, and we were all thrilled. He's a great guy, and we all love him. Back when she first got engaged, she gave me, her friend Charlotte and Carrie a box of beautiful earrings that said, "Will you be a bridesmaid?" and mine said maid of honor. We were all giddy and started coming up with ideas and discussing colors and cakes and all that fun stuff. But they decided to wait a year to save and to figure out what they wanted. Well, 4 months ago, Laura announced she was pregnant, and as a family we were all excited. All except Carrie, who remained quiet and didn't say much about it. Laura then explained that her and Alan decided they want to have the wedding in 2 months. With about 30 to 40 people so that they can really celebrate before the baby. Stepdad offered them $10,000 so they could have their dream wedding. But due to the circumstances, they asked if they could use most of that money on a house they were looking at instead, and he agreed. So Charlotte, Laura, mom, and I have been frantically planning things, and it's been a lot of fun. Except for the fact that Carrie hasn't said much about it from the start. And whenever we start wedding planning, she either goes on her phone or will not pay much attention. Finally, Laura had a talk and asked her for more input, and to participate more, and Carrie agreed. When we were on our way to the dollar store to pick up some wedding decorations, Carrie scoffed and said dollar store decorations. That's so tacky, but we ignored her and did our thing. When we asked if she would help us make handmade invitations, she complained again and said it'll look like a bunch of preschoolers made it, and just stomped away. Finally, just recently, we were all dress shopping, and Laura told us we can pick whatever dress we want as long as it's blue, because she wants it to be simple, and we would be paying for it ourselves. So mom, Charlotte, and I went into H&M and found beautiful blue summer maxi dresses, different styles. Mom had lace, mine is a floral cotton, and Laura thought they were perfect. Except Carrie, of course, and she wanted to buy this $2,000 bridesmaid designer gown she found online. My mom told her that was ridiculous. Laura's gown didn't even cost that much. So Carrie, of course, pouted and whined, so mom gave in, and we all went to this fancy bridal shop. Carrie right away found a pink blush gown that she had to wear. But it was $1,000. Mom said a firm no, plus it's not even blue like the other bridesmaids. My sister then said blue was the stupidest color for a bridesmaid dress because we don't even live near the ocean. Anyways, we all left, and she had her little pout, and mom lectured her and told her this is a frugal wedding, it's in our backyard. Barbecue with only 30 to 40 people, and so she doesn't need a $2,000 designer dress of any kind. Fast forward to a few days later, and Carrie says she found a dress to wear that she already had in her closet, plus it was blue. So we thought terrific. But when we went over to mom and dad's, Carrie strutted out in her old prom dress from high school, which is basically a puffy ball gown bedazzled with jewels. And as anyone does after high school, she grew out of it, so her boobs were spilling out, and it overall was not flattering. On top of all that, she was wearing a tiara full of sparkling jewels that she claimed she bought just for the wedding. Mom and Laura were silent, and finally I felt I had enough, so I snapped and told her she couldn't possibly be serious. Wearing a dress fancier than the bride is one thing, having your boobs spill out is another, but also wearing a crown on top of that. Who does she think she is? Carrie crossed her arms and said, "I'm the maid of honor, of course I'm going to wear a crown." This is when we all get silent until Laura speaks up and says, "Maid of honor. I made Amy maid of honor. You and Charlotte are the bridesmaids." Well, this triggered Carrie, and she began screeching, "What do you mean I am not maid of honor? You told Emmy I was when you gave us those presents, I got earrings because I am maid of honor." Now, I don't know if for this past year Carrie really truly thought she was maid of honor and got the title bridesmaid mixed up, or if she was in denial or just simply didn't pay any attention to detail, because I've been maid of honor this entire time, and she hasn't said anything about it until then. But this caused her to have the worst meltdown I think I have ever witnessed in my life. I truly thought people only acted like this in movies or storybooks. Whenever a Redditor would post about a bridezilla or wedding meltdown, I always thought this must be exaggerated. But this has been the worst meltdown ever in our family. Carrie began screaming, crying. She ripped off her crown and stomped around until Dad came down to see what all the fuss was about. Through her blubbering, she told Laura her wedding was all wrong. She said she should be using that $10,000 for a nice wedding instead of that ugly brick house her and Alan wanted, because that's what the money was meant for. She also said it was the stupidest idea ever that my sister would want to get married while pregnant because you look like a fat swan in your wedding dress and… Again, she rambled onto something about how blue is a dumb color because we don't live near an ocean. I think at this point she's just pulling stuff out of her ass. Dad tried to calm her down and she finally screams that if she can't be maid of honor then no one can, and she won't go to the wedding. At this point, Laura is a mess and is crying her heart out, and I'm ready to smack that little witch so hard that the crown stays off her head permanently. But before I can say anything, Laura says, "Fine, you can be maid of honor, you win." And just like that, Carrie stopped crying and she gave a small smile before going up to her room. Mom and Dad start arguing. Dad saying there's nothing you can do to control a 20-year-old's behavior, and Laura had went to the next room to call Alan about potentially canceling the wedding. I'm so angry that I end up storming into Carrie's room to see that she's on her laptop ordering that stupid pink 2000 dress. I was so dumbfounded at the nerve of her that I couldn't even face her. I left and didn't say a word. Downstairs, Laura is crying to her fiancé, and the parents are yelling all the while Carrie is happily in her room buying stupid crap because she got her way. I don't think I've ever been this angry. I wish Laura had more of a backbone. I would have told Carrie to not bother coming if she was going to act like that. I don't even know what to do now. I'm also hurt that Laura gave the title to her just like that because she screamed for it. I don't know what to say or do to anyone. What should I do? Told her. Big sister titled me maid of honor, but little sister threw in tantrum, and now she is the maid of honor instead of me. We live on a farm, so we have approx 6 acres of open space where we are holding the wedding. The cooks who are preparing the hot dogs and hamburgers will be wearing masks. The guests are all required to wear masks, and we have hand sanitizer bottles at every table. Sorry, I had forgotten to include that. Personally, I wouldn't want to risk it too much, but I'll be wearing a mask and hand sanitizing constantly so I don't have to miss my sister's wedding and pray that everything turns out fine. We also have a little tap at the side of our house we use as a sink all the time that's available to guests. I forget that a lot of people right now probably aren't taking any precautions at all, so I wanted to mention we are, if at least a little.
Next story.
Skimmed my friend's romance novel after she asked for feedback, and now she's upset I didn't read every part. So I'm a writer who has had 2 short story collections published along with some things in literary magazines. In other words, I write navel-gazing literary fiction about women in their 20s with limited appeal to the masses. It's what I like to read. It's what I like to write, and my friends know this. My friend Chelsea is also a writer and asked me if I could read her romance novel and give her feedback. She has other people giving her feedback as well. I told her that I don't really read romance, so I'm not her target audience, but I would give her the best feedback I could. So about a month after I give Chelsea my feedback, we're hanging out with some friends and chatting about books. And I happened to mention that I generally skip intimate scenes and overly romantic scenes in books. I've just never wanted to read about fictional people being intimate. It's weird to me, same as I've never really gotten into the whole watching adult videos thing. I skip love scenes in movies, TV, etc. It's just boring filler to me, like someone reading off a list of numbers or something. Anyway, Chelsea perked up and asked me what I thought about the scenes in her books, since I gave feedback. I told her that I'd skipped that part. She got offended and asked me why I hadn't said that to her. I didn't think I had to. I was mostly giving her feedback on the writing style, dialogue, word choice, etc. She has taken this to mean that I skimmed the whole thing and thought her scenes were boring and badly written, and made a few snippy comments about the books I read and how boring and pretentious they are, which, sure, I know plenty of people find them boring. I told her that I'd warned her I wasn't her target audience. She told me that didn't matter, and I should have told her I was only going to skim her book. Was I wrong?